Welcome back to Sophie and Jumong, Part 24, Engagement in Dubai. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. Sophie's eyes widened the moment the sleek black car rolled to a stop beside the steps of Jumong's private jet. The polished silver fuselage glimmered under the morning light, with his family's discreet crest near the cockpit window. A gentle breeze carried the soft hum of engines warming up, and for a heartbeat, Sophie forgot how to breathe. "Come on, beautiful. No more surprises until we get in." She laughed, her voice light with a mixture of awe and playful suspicion. "How many surprises do you still have hidden in that perfect suit of yours?" He only smiled, that calm, slightly teasing grin that always made her heart race, and helped her out of the car. Sophie straightened her fitted dress, its elegant embroidered details catching the light. She felt like a queen, though half of that was because of the man whose hand wrapped securely around hers. The flight attendant at the steps bowed politely, greeting Jumong with quiet formality, but when she turned to Sophie, her smile warmed like sunshine. "Welcome, Miss Sophie. We're honored to have you today." Sophie flushed, her fingers squeezing Jumong's. "Thank you," she murmured, unable to stop her eyes from darting to the aircraft's glossy interior beyond the open door. "After you," Jumong said, nudging her gently forward. She climbed the short steps, feeling the hush of luxury wrap around her like silk. Inside, pale cream leather seats, warm walnut tables, and soft golden accents framed a cabin that looked more like a sky palace than a plane. Fresh flowers rested in a crystal vase near the window. Two attendants moved with silent grace, adjusting pillows and offering chilled juice. Sophie turned in a slow circle, hand over her chest. "Jumong, this is—" "Just a jet," he said with an amused tone. He brushed a stray curl off her forehead. "Though maybe you'll agree it's more comfortable than flying commercial." She shot him an exasperated look. "A jet? This is a flying five-star mansion," his shoulder brushing hers as if he couldn't stand the idea of distance. He pressed a button, and the cabin door closed with a soft hum, cutting away the outside world. Sophie peeked out the window, her heart hammering. On the runway, the staff made their final checks. She turned back and found Jumong watching her, not the scenery, not the horizon that waited for them. Just her. "What?" she asked, cheeks warming. "You're glowing," he said simply, his voice low enough that only she could hear, though there was no one close enough to listen anyway. "Every time you smile, I remember why this is worth everything." "Oh, stop it," she giggled, but her eyes glistened. She reached for his hand, threading her fingers through his. "I'm nervous, you know. I've never been on a private jet before." "Then I'll make sure your first flight is unforgettable." The engines hummed louder now, the cabin lights adjusting to a soft, cozy glow. The attendant reappeared, offering them drinks and a tray of delicate pastries. Sophie shook her head, but Jumong accepted a glass of orange juice for her and a coffee for himself. "Eat something," he urged. "It's a long flight. You need your energy for all the trouble you'll cause me in Dubai." The jet began to move, rolling down the runway, and Sophie's fingers clutched his tighter. He leaned in and kissed her temple. "Hey, breathe. I've got you." She breathed out shakily, but nodded, her curls brushing his cheek. As the nose lifted, Sophie gasped softly, her eyes widening at the sudden weight in her chest. But Jumong only grinned and pointed toward the window. "Look." She turned her head, and her breath caught for a different reason. Below them, the city shrank away, roads like silver threads, the rooftops scattering like toy blocks. Clouds drifted past, cotton white against the endless blue. Sophie pressed her palm to the window, awed and silent. "You're seeing the world with me," Jumong whispered beside her ear, the rumble of his voice grounding her as the plane soared higher and higher. She turned back, face flushed with excitement. "And when we land, more surprises?" "Maybe," he said, trying and failing to hide the boyish mischief behind his elegant composure. She nudged his side. Tell me one. No. Please. No. She pouted dramatically, crossing her arms. Then I'm telling Gina that you refused me basic information. She'll be on my side, you know. He laughed then, a deep, warm sound that made the cabin feel smaller, more intimate. My love, when we land, you'll see. Until then, trust me. She exhaled a teasing sigh, but then her eyes softened. He cupped her cheek and kissed her lightly, mindful of the attendants, but too in love to care if they saw. Her lips curved under his, and for a few seconds, there was no jet, no clouds, no sky. Just Sophie and Jumong, and a love so solid it made even the vast heavens feel small. The moment the wheels of Jumong's sleek private jet kissed the tarmac of Dubai International Airport, Sophie felt a giddy weightlessness flutter in her chest. She glanced through the window as the golden desert horizon melted into glistening towers of glass and steel, a paradise she had only seen in magazines or fleeting social media clips. And now she was here, with him. The Dubai heat brushed her cheeks the moment they stepped onto the air stairs. But it wasn't harsh. It was like a gentle, perfumed breeze carrying a promise of adventure. At the bottom of the steps, a small convoy of polished black SUVs and two men in tailored suits waited beside a smiling Arab concierge who bowed slightly and welcomed them in fluent Korean and English. Sophie felt her breath catch. He tucked Sophie's hand into the crook of his elbow, never letting her drift away. 20 minutes later, the convoy curved into a quiet, high-walled compound in one of Dubai's most exclusive neighborhoods. Iron gates slid open to reveal a stunning white mansion that looked sculpted out of marble and sunlight. Palm trees framed its courtyard, where a small fountain danced in the middle, and a carpet of rose petals led from the carport to the main entrance. Sophie clasped her hands over her mouth. No, Jumong. This is not for me, right? You didn't— It's ours, he corrected softly, stepping behind her and slipping his arms around her waist. He rested his chin on her shoulder, both of them gazing at the house that shimmered like a desert mirage come alive. At least for these days. I wanted you to feel more than a guest. I want you to feel like the queen you are. She couldn't speak, only turned in his arms and buried her face in his chest, laughing and crying at the same time while he held her and whispered, "We haven't even begun, my love." Inside, the mansion was an elegant blend of Arabian craftsmanship and soft European romance. Carved wooden doors, creamy marble floors, sweeping drapes in gold and white. As the staff discreetly carried their luggage upstairs, Sophie explored the wide sitting room, her fingers brushing the velvet cushions. Meanwhile, in another wing of Dubai's most luxurious resort hotel, Sophie's mother sat alone in a sumptuous suite that seemed too grand for her simple soul. She had flown in straight from Namibia, guided every step of the way by Jumong's staff, men who treated her with reverence she had never known. She had been told she was here for Sophie's special day, but she had no idea how special it would be. Looking out over the city lights, she pressed her wrinkled hand over her chest and whispered a prayer in her mother tongue. God, keep my daughter's heart safe. May this rich world not change the poor heart she carries. She never knew that soon. On the calm waves of the Dubai marina, under a sky dusted with stars, she would witness the moment her child stepped into forever. Jumong stepped out of the dressing room first, adjusting the cuff of his dark tailored tuxedo. He glanced at Sophie, who sat by the window, bathed in the mellow light of a nearby lamp. "Sophie," he called gently, warmth filling his voice, "tonight just wear what you love most. Be yourself, exactly how I see you every time I close my eyes." She tilted her head at him, half teasing, half shy. And what if what I love most is my old pajamas? He laughed softly, walked over, and brushed his thumb beneath her chin. Then I'd still think you are the most stunning woman on this earth. Behind her, on the bed, lay the surprise he'd arranged earlier that afternoon. A custom champagne gold silk gown, simple yet graceful, shimmering faintly under the lights. She rose slowly, fingers brushing the smooth fabric. "You did this?" she asked, her voice dropping to a soft wonder. "For tonight I needed Dubai to see you the way I do," he said. "Take your time. I'll wait by the door." When he stepped out, Sophie stayed rooted for a moment, eyes fixed on the gown. But her mind, ever playful, wandered. Then her thoughts shifted again. Her hair. She touched it gently, wishing it could look sleek for tonight. Quietly, she called out through the door. "Jumong, do we, have a hair straightener here?" He turned instantly, appearing back in the room. "A straightener?" He smiled, pulling out his phone. "Wait 1 second." Within minutes, a polite knock at the door. A hotel staff member handed over a professional hair kit, courtesy of Jumong's quick call. 20 minutes later, Sophie stepped out, her hair now smooth and straight, falling softly against her shoulders and collarbone, highlighting her face. The gown fit her like a dream, hugging her gently before flowing down in elegant lines. When she met his eyes, Jumong simply stood frozen for a breath too long. Then he stepped forward, pressed a quick kiss to her forehead, and whispered, "You are perfect." They didn't talk much during the drive. He held her hand, tracing gentle circles over her skin. Sophie stared out the window at the sparkling city, thinking of how far she'd come, and how this night felt like a dream she once never dared to have. She turned to look at him. He caught her stare, smiled that calm, tender smile, and lifted her hand to kiss her knuckles. At the private marina, Sophie's breath hitched when she spotted the yacht. Long and majestic, it glowed under fairy lights like a palace afloat on calm, dark water. Jumong stepped out first, reaching back for her. She gathered her gown carefully and followed, her heart drumming in her chest. Together they walked along the short pier, the water below reflecting tiny sparkles from the lights above. At the gangway, Sophie paused, squeezing his hand. "All this, really, for me?" He squeezed back, voice steady. "No, my love, for us, always us." He guided her up the ramp. Soft violin music greeted them as they stepped onto the deck. Small lanterns and candles in glass bowls drifted in the pool nearby. Rose petals formed a path to a quiet table for two, set beside the gentle night sea breeze. Sophie turned slowly, one hand covering her mouth as her eyes watered. "I feel like," she began, but her voice broke with a happy laugh. "Like Cinderella." Jumong cupped her face, thumbs brushing away the tears. "Cinderella had a fairy godmother," he whispered. "You have me, and I have you. That's all the magic we need." She laughed through her tears, clinging to his wrists. "Come," he said softly, pulling her toward the table. "Tonight is ours. No crowds, no cameras, just us, and the life we're building, moment by moment." Hand in hand, they crossed the deck, the sea breeze carrying away every worry, every shadow of the past. Dinner on the open deck felt like a dream Sophie never wanted to wake from. She sat across from Jumong under a canopy of fairy lights while soft violin notes floated on the warm sea breeze. Every time she tried to joke to hide her nerves, Jumong squeezed her hand and smiled like there was nothing else worth seeing. When dessert came, Sophie expected something sweet. Instead, Jumong stood, walked to her side, and lifted the dome himself, revealing a velvet ring box. Her breath caught. He dropped to one knee, his voice low but clear. "You gave me back my breath, Sophie. You made this wandering heart a home. Sophie Cuddy, will you marry me?" Tears blurred her view of his face. She nodded, her voice trembling but sure. "Yes, I will marry you, my love." He slipped the golden ring onto her finger as the yacht drifted quietly over calm waves. When she thought her heart could take no more, Jumong leaned closer, whispering at her ear, "One more surprise, my love." He gently covered her eyes with his hands. guided her to turn toward the deck entrance, and murmured, "Keep them closed, now open." There stood her mother, dressed in deep blue, eyes shining with tears and joy. Sophie gasped, knees weak, but she ran and wrapped her mother tight under the open Dubai sky. Her mother held her, whispering softly, "My child, my flower, look at you." Behind them, Jumong watched in quiet peace, a smile on his lips. Later, while Sophie stepped away to wipe her tears, her mother sat alone by the rail, watching Dubai's city lights dance on the water. She thought of the calm airport in Namibia, the kind staff, the gentle flight that brought her to see her child's greatest joy. She pressed her hand to her chest and whispered, "Thank you, God, for bringing my daughter this far." When Sophie returned, fresh tears welling again, her mother cupped her cheeks and said, "See how far love has carried you. Keep it safe always." Sophie nodded, glancing back at Jumong, waiting for her at the deck's edge, smiling softly, ready to walk her into forever.